and welcome to this video. In this video I'll show you how you can install and run Figaf in your SAP landscape. We will cover both about how some of the different ways you can run and install Figaf. We will cover how you can connect it to Integration Suite, CPI, and also to SAP PI using Cloud Connector or whatever you need for that to work. So there's going to be a lot of different stuff in it. You may not need everything in it here, so we have added chapters. So you can see them at the bottom of the video, where you can go in and find the sections that you find relevant for your next steps. We try to cover as much as possible. If something missing, let us know. We'll try to see if we can add some more comments to those. Thanks. But let's get started. Okay. So there's a number of different ways that you can run Figaf, and there is benefits and challenges for all of these scenarios. So we initially, started running Figaf, and it would enable you to run it on a PI system, but that was a bit too complex and too much to manage. So later we have a standalone deployment, and this is the things that enables us to run the same tool in multiple different scenarios. So you can run it on a laptop. Check the link in the description here about how you can actually go through some of these different scenarios. So a laptop, it's good. It just needs Java 17. You can run it. 2 GB of free memory. More is obviously better, and a good CPU is also good. Good network connection. Next up is you can run it on a database server or server with a database. That's good if you want to do something internally. But lately our main focus of deployment, and most of our customers are using Figaf tool in BTP, where they run it and make sure that that is the best way to ensure easy use, etc. It may be a little more expensive than running it on your on-premise systems, but just having the whole framework around it, having the cloud deployment, user access, security models, just makes it so much easier. We also do have a cloud offering. It enables you to work with cloud integration, but does not enable you to work with backend or PI systems, so it's not really useful for PI to CPI migrations, but it's a good idea if you just want to evaluate the Figaf tool for your DevOps purposes. We, for now, is not focusing on using this for customer productive usage. There we definitely would recommend the BTP deployment, because it's just more scalable, more secure, and better for that purposes. So to get a license for Figaf, you just go to Figaf/DevOps and select create a license. Select on-premise. If you want to have a license, you can run in BTP, local or database. The only time you want to select cloud is if you want to use it in the Figaf cloud. And yeah, if you have, it takes a few minutes, then you'll get the licenses for it. Okay, if you get lost, you can always go here to the help section. You can also go to the manual. We have updated it with a lot of new details, making it easier to navigate to some of the different areas. So hopefully that's a little easier, and you can always use the latest number here. And I think we may skip the numbering at some point in time. Let's see. So when we look at the general architecture, this is how we see it, and then you have the components that can be placed in different locations. But if we go with the standard deployment, which is running Figaf in BTP, you have the Integration Suite system. Users work both with the Integration Suite and the Figaf. We also have a Cloud Foundry environment that enables you to, or where you can deploy the Figaf. It needs some runtime and it needs a Postgres, and then it's all good. To connect to the on-premise, we would use Cloud Connector. and that would simplify the operation, giving access to these on-premise resources. That's just so much easier. And then obviously we can connect and move things into a Git repository, which is another topic that can simplify your life. Okay. Yes, BTP, our recommended option. Use Cloud Connector for scenarios. I would say it is, and you can use your SAP credits. We can deploy it actually in free tier or trial environment. Just one note, if you're deploying it in free tier, there is a limit on the number of database calls that you can make or something like that. If you go above this limit, the tool will stop working. So do not deploy anything productive in the free tier. Be sure that you have moved it to a real database first. Server installation. Postgres, Microsoft. We here would also recommend that you using OpenID Connect for it or either Active Directory or some other tool that you have to ensure that you can authenticate users and don't use username passwords for it. So, standalone installation of the Figaf. This is the fastest way to get the tool started on. Let's see if I have, second fastest. Download it, create a bat file, extract it, build it, and then you're actually good to go. Yes, and that's I think the easiest way just to see what it is that the tool does. If you have Docker, this is probably the easiest. You just copy paste these two. Go to the manual, download a manifest or whatever file, change it to the right version, and then you can actually deploy it. This is probably the easiest things that takes least amount of effort to do. But it's not everybody that has Docker on their systems, so I normally recommend that you either go with the standalone or the BTP deployment. Okay. So right now we'll just show you how you can actually install Figaf on your local PC and use that to get started. So we will go here to the UL, and here we have all the download things that we need. We download the file, and it's a 300 megabyte file at the moment. We also recommend that you use Adomium or Java 17. I'll just also get that one. JIE should be sufficient. And if you just get it in the zip file, that also simplifies some of the things. Good. So now we have both of the files downloaded. Then we get this file here. So the idea in general is that you go in, where's you? So we will go here. We will create a new temp folder, a new one that's called training, and here we will put in these two files that we got. And I guess we will need to unzip this one, extract all, and just in the current directory. And then we can take this here, this bat file here. We can then go in our editor. So we have here our editor. So the only thing we just need to go in and is to find the location of the bin file. So we go here, put it in. So it actually already added some here, but obviously that could change. So now we are on a different version of it. So, and depends on where you have extracted it. As long as there's a Java there, that should be good. and we need to copy the path here. So that's actually all you need to do. We would need to change this to match the current jar file that we have. We can see the name here. And I guess then when we have some strange characters, I would probably also just add brackets around here. So that is actually all we need. One thing we could consider is in your user folder, the database of the tool is saved. So here when we start up the application, it says what data is being used. It says productive, and here we can see where the file is located. Oh, sorry. So the file would in general just be added in C users, your user, and here there's a folder called Figaf, and there's one called Figaf tool and Figaf. Let's see, which one is it? So right now I think we would add it to one that is called 2024, because sometimes the database name changes, but the thing is, if you have run Figaf a long time ago, or if you have run it on a different PC with a different client, you may need to go in here and delete the settings for it. So now it's started, hopefully, so we can go to localhost, local, /8889, and here we can then log in. Default username is super user, password to default, lowercase, and then we can load license and create agent. Oh, because it's an existing installation, data is already here, and we can already log in. That is just how you can install Figaf locally. As you saw, it took a few minutes to get started on it. Let's continue. So the part that obviously is this is about the BTP. We already covered the architecture of this. There's a few steps that we would need to do to go through this. We need to go here, deploy, create the database, etc. So this is actually the steps that we would need to do. So let's copy this and open it. So as I stated, the database is the part that takes longest time. So let's just do that. So we need to create a database here that is called figaf.db. You can use it if you're on the trial version. You can use this command, but in general, we see that most of these different installations have different ideas and versions, etc. So it's a good idea just to create it from scratch. So we go here, we create a Postgres, trial dev here. The version doesn't really matter. You can select whatever version. Go with the default one. I think I can't recall. At least 16 should be supported. If you are on a on a real tenant, you may have different options. Let me just show you that. So here is our real tenant. So here we have a standard one, and agree. We have to. Here we have some different levels: the backup retention rate, database versions, maintenance week, memory. How much memory? In general, we would go with the lowest tier, and if you find it's a problem, we will upgrade it, or you can upgrade it. Multiset AC, I don't really think that is so important. I think this is a new one. that added. But and here you can select the storage size. You can change that down. The important thing is here, if you have selected this multi-set this source, there is some different services that you need to have. So the entitlements that you need to run this is Postgres here. So here we have the storage, the standard, and the standard. If we needed to have the premium option, we would then need to go in and assign service plan Postgres. So right now here on this specific instance, we do not have this premium plan and the storage plan. So we would need to go into the above service assignment here, and here we would have Postgres. We don't have it here. So maybe I don't have it in our account, but you need to remember when assigning these things that they should be you should select the one that makes sense for that specific purpose. So yeah, you need to have those things and selected. I think there's not that big of a difference between the premium or the other one, as it really matters. Okay, so now the database is still being created. The next thing we need to do is we need to install this Cloud Foundry library. It's just a application that you run, and that should be good. And then you go. So the idea is here we have this file folder here. We unpack this, extract all. So this is now called number 9. So we have here all the different deployment artifacts that's important for us to run this this scenario in. So the idea is that you would need to go here, open a command console, and then you can go in here, cd, and here we can then see if we have this CF or CF7, CF8, sometimes it's called CF just, so we can see here. And then we would need to go here and see CF login. So we'll go here, CF, here on the overview, here we have the URL. So we copy this one, and we go here. So we'll say CF login, and then we will have the namespace here. And then this will enable us to log in with username, email. You can also, and I think that's probably the most relevant, is to use this service here. So what you can then do is you go here, and here you can log in either with an alternative provider or with your default provider. You'll get a token here that you can paste. And now we have authenticated. And we are using some outdated versions of the command line. We should probably get a newer one anyway. Good, and it only have one space. It may also ask and say, hey, go get this the specific version, because that is the better one. Okay, so let's get started here. Let's put this up here. We'll put the manual here to the side, and then everything else over here. So we don't need this one. So the next here is we have logged in. We need to get the CF, run the command CF domains. CF domains. And here we'll get this CF apps root. And what we then need to do is in this file here, we have two files we need to maintain. We have the manifest root. And in general, you don't really need to do any changes in the manifest at the moment. You can change the memory settings depending on what you want, what's the requirement. So the lower memory you can use, the better, because it will be cheaper. But there can be some limitations on what you have and the memory, etc. So keep it as it is. If you find out that it is way overkill, you just have a small integration suite system, set this one down. That's the best option. And then we have here your company. So here you just add your name, Daniel Do Figaf. Here you have this landscapes domain that we found. And here we need to find the Docker image version. And it says here, use this URL. And here it says here we have this version here. So we don't need to have the app and Figaf because they are added from the manifest. So the only thing we need to have this is this BTP. And it always needs to be BTP here. The other one is if you're deploying Figaf locally. We have some other settings for Cloud Connector, and here if you need to change the memory setting in the previous, you should also change it here. Okay, so let's see how the database creation is going. Still not done. Good. No, we still have a few steps left. So we've done this manual. This is normally in the UI. We have added the map files. We then need to go here and create the users. And do that in our command here. So this will create a new service called XUA. And what we will see here if we refresh. That now this service has been created. And that means that we can now go to our user dashboard. Users. Here we have our user, and that means we can now have a role collection. That is IRT admin. Yeah, I guess that's the full one. There is more details about the different roles that you need to add here, what are their capabilities. You can also just have a user if they should have access to the user systems. Okay. So that means now I have access to log into this. Actually, and then I guess it would just be about waiting until the database has been created. So let me just pause for a second. Luckily, it's done now. So we can go back to our view here. So it says then use this command here to create it. So let's see if we have remembered everything. So let's just push. And then this would deploy all the applications in this one go that we have. And what we would then see is in here in the Cloud Foundry spaces. If you're deploying this, you should have a Cloud Foundry space where you are developing, otherwise you'll not be able to work with these applications. So we can see here the application is started, and if we look at the logs here, they actually look the same as we had on the on-premise system. I guess they are just the other way around. Here it will then put the data into the Postgres database, etc. And yeah, this will take a little while for it to go through and create the different services. And we can see here this other one is starting, and the tool consists of two applications: a router that's using a Node.js that is deploying and managing the user administration, and then the Figaf app that's a standalone Docker image. And the idea is all traffic should go via this one to access the tool. So let's see if it's up and running. So we should see something about application is ready to manage. Okay, so let's see here. So if we go here, we get the URL, and this is what we need to have access to the tool. It says here the license not configured. I did go in and register a little license, and let me just get those if I can find them. So I have a license key here. So the idea is in your email you'll get a license key grid. You just say load license, and now you have added this license to this instance of the Figaf tool, and this just makes it easier for you to manage everything that is in place regarding this. So now we have the Figaf tool up running in BTP, and it does not really matter if it's one versus the other. Okay. I think one we are still working here on the BTP assignment. So one of the things that's important here is let's connect it also to the PI system. Obviously, this is also a lot about some of the different areas that you need to do in. So we can find there's one here: how to deploy Figaf, how to use PIPO in Figaf. So to do this, we need to go in and we need to create two new services. So we just call here paste anyway. So this will enable Figaf to would have access to these two systems. And what we would then need to do is in the manifest, we would need to uncomment these two, so we would access it. So obviously we could have added that as default, but we did not really want too much details or too much data for it. And this would also show you how you would update the Figaf tool when you need to do it. So there's two ways. You can go here and delete all these things, and the data is saved in the database, so it doesn't matter. So that means that we can go back here to our CF push vars again and run it. And as it states up here in the manifest, you can also there's these apps that you can say, okay, let's delete the router for that matter. For this cloud connector to work, we also need to go into the cloud connector and enable it to send to our service. And I think this is also a little fun. So let me just get to my cloud connector here. So here we have a cloud connector on our local system. Let's see if it's still on. Okay, so to set up a new cloud connector connection to expose the PI system, so I guess in general I would here just know my PI system, so it's this port, and that means I can go here to add a new sub account. I would add the region of the sub account here that this is paste, so this is Amazon US West. I think we need to go into this one here. So this is the region that US West Amazon. US West US West, and then you need to remember that this is this is East. US East Amazon. Good. And the sub account ID, then I think this is the sub ID here. Then you log in with your username. And you can put in a location ID if you want something specific, and this has been leveraged on other places. In general, I don't really recommend that you need to do that. And then we'll just get the let's see here. So 50-50 chance that the password would work. And probably less if I copied it correctly. But now this has then been created. I guess if you have a lot of systems like this, it may be a good idea to add some ideas about this. So let me just do it for this. So here we have this. We can connect it. So then if I go here into the Cloud Connector, I should then be able to see that there's no Cloud Connector connected to this. We can open it, expose it. Connect. So now we can see that there's something on the back end, but there's no systems connected. So we will need to go here to a cloud system. We need to add a SAP PI system. I don't think it really matters. So the local host is SAP serves this, and port, that's too easy. And the remote, we can use the same, and then the same port. Principal propagation, no. I generally use the internal host. That's the better process for this. Just let's check that it's there. It's reachable. Then we need to add the path that is needed. Subpath would enable us to do all. If you want to go more in details and specified, I think we have added all our list here, and that's a little quite a few services that is exposed on this system. And that means that if we go here, we can see that now we have this system called remote that we can use. Okay, so that was enabling the Cloud Connector. Now let's connect to the PI system and see what is possible there. So we will go here to the agents. That was a restart. And we can go here and we can create. So we can obviously check that the system would have access to these data. So that would be under the spaces, under our dev system, and the application. Here we can see that there should be the new service bindings, that it is having access to these systems. Okay, so we'll create a new agent. This is the 75 Pro 75. The internal. This is the when we're accessing it, we need to use the Cloud Connector URL and port name. It's always HTTP in Cloud Connector, and we then need to use our user. I think we also have a specific user requirements that you want, or there's a specific user requirements that you want for this. The P4 port is not really possible to use. So let's see here if it serves. Saves. So now we can see it was activated automatically. So we can test the connection to see if everything is correct here. And this is okay. We do not have the PI libraries. We don't have the access to it anyway. So that should be all good. So this was actually all you needed to do to connect a PI system to Figaf. The next thing you want to do is you want to go and you want to synchronize this. Leave all of these intact. If you find some problems with doing the synchronization, you need to go in and you need to synchronize it again, and then you need to select all of these systems. So we can now see that it fetches all the details. If you have a large system, this can take a few iterations, or if you have a slow responding system, it will give you or take a few iterations for you to connect and get everything working. So let's just see here what we got from the presentation. So that was the BTP, the cloud connector we covered, the licenses, user management. When you're using Figaf, yeah, IT admin is the way to go. And end users, you probably will need to have this DevOps operator, IT requester. We have some different scenarios depending on what you really want to do, if it's the DevOps or testing, that you should be set up. You also have the monitoring roles that you probably you'd give them user roles. And then one nice feature is we have this thing about mapped users. So if you have some different users in the systems, then it would be possible to see these users. So let's see here. So here we can see that there is something that has been done by Daniel. And if I want to make this also so I can use the users here, I have here this Daniel Graverson. I just put in the SAP user role here, and then if I go back to my change tracking tool, I can see that these were changed by Daniel Graverson. It's really good if you have numbered or S users or something like that. That is really difficult to remember who is S115. Then it's easier just to use this map roles. And this is obviously just something you can add along as you move along with this. Where did you go? There's some more detailed role that I think we have added some more. I think just the license requester is a good one. If so, we don't want everybody to be able to request licenses. That's why we have added this license requester role for it. There's some more details on these. Worth noting here is some of the UI elements. At the end of the line, we would have this. This means that you can open it and see more. There's some empty spaces in the front of it. This would allow you to select that specific line. And then we have this burger icon where there's an in-place menu for specific things. So those are worth noting. Good. Next up is we want to integrate with Integration Suite or CPI because yeah, that is the main focus of the landscape that we're working. Most integrations is going to be going on here. There's a number of different ways to go around and setting up a lot of these things. And there's been a lot of evolution on these things. So initially in Neo, we just needed an S user, and that was all we needed to do. In Cloud Foundry, it became more complex. We could still use your normal S user, but then we also got some public APIs that was easier to access and send messages on. And we built our custom SAML provider, and we have also implemented some new functionalities. So you can access Cloud Identity Services, getting service keys. Good. Okay, so now we can see everything here seems to be okay. We can check the last synchronization result. It's okay. Good. So let's create a CPI agent and see how that works out. So we do have two options. You can create it from here and select CPI. We see that causes a lot of problems and a lot of misunderstanding. So the best is to go here. Let me see here. I have the integration suite here. Let's see. I guess it should be enable. So we can go here, we can go here. So the first is to take the trial. It is an integration suite. So if you have something with the cloud connector, you should probably add that. If it has runtime location ID in it. And then we will get this API key for API key. So to get that, we will go to our BTP cockpit here. Let's just put this on the side then. No, that's not. Here we have the instance and some subscriptions. We would need to create a runtime. Process integration runtime. You may need to add that as a entitlement. It's not always there. We call it Figaf API. And it would then need the roles business, integration developer. Next, create. And while this is creating, I'm always creating the runtime for sending messages into it. We have iFlow, and here we just need DSP methods. And obviously, if you create different roles, you would, for sending messages, you'll need to enhance that also. Good. So now the API has been created. We can create a service key for it. And the idea is you just go here, view it, copy JSON, and you go back to the Figaf and say, hey, pass. So that works quite smoothly. We then need the API, the message flow key. So this is here the iFlow, create. Yeah. Copy JSON. Paste it here. Okay. Now comes the more challenging part, and here you need, so the Figaf tool needs to have access to your BTP system, or log in as a user in the as an iFlow. You can use an S user here, and this does require that the user does not have universal ID. You can go and create a passport for this, and I think here this manual does give a lot more details on the different options and what they have and capabilities of these things. I think the SAP password is probably the best approach here. I would recommend that if you do that, you do not create a general you create a role specifically for Figaf, and then you can use this on all the different tenants that you have where Figaf is running. We also have our custom IDP, and this has been our preferred one for a long time. And let me just cover how to set that up. So the idea is you will go here, download this entity description. And then you will go here into the trust configuration. So the problem here is we now have new SAML trust configuration. It says it's deprecated. For now, it still works. Figaf, it should not be available for user logon. And then we need to go in here and we need to say, okay, if new role mapping, we would need to give it all the different roles that we need. So we need groups, attribute, groups is admin. So we need to create it for all the different ones. PI admin. Oh. PI read integration developer. Actually, I think it's good. Feel like it's lowercase. And then the last thing you need to go is you need to go here, download this SAML metadata, open this file, and then the second last URL you have down here, you need to copy this and you need to put it inside of the URL here. So that's the idea, and that should work. The one we are now recommending, and the one we will see is the best, is this Cloud Identity Service. And to use Cloud Identity Service, it does take a few steps. I'm not the super best at it at the moment, but let me try to cover how you would set this up. So the first is you go here to the services. Obviously, if you already have it running, some other Cloud Identity Service, you will create it. Select plan. I'm not sure which one to select here. It's productive. And then it should be creating here. So now it is created, and we need to go to the application here. Here you would then, it needs to log in with a different user. I'm not sure it has your SAP user access here, or you would need to request it. So let me just find my username. Oh. Actually, I think if I would look into my mailbox, I would actually have received an email on this. Let me just see here. Can I pop it on? So I do get this notification here, go in and activate your account. And here I can go in and I can create my password for this specific user. So now I have created an admin account in my own custom identity provider. Update made since you were last here. I was just here. It's the first time I'm logging in. Good. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go back here to our system, and we want to establish a trust. So right now we have this custom IDP that we'll probably not use, and we can then select we want to trust to this one. That's just the default one that we want to. So I guess you could change the logon text to something else. Yes, and we'll say next, finish. This would enable us to log in for systems with this specific user. So the idea is we would go here, we will create a new user. So we'll create it as an employee. Or still, I don't know what the difference is. We'll send an email activation. It does not really matter with these other things. It always needs to go via the email scenarios. Okay. So now I should hopefully get a new email to activate this account here. The other thing is we need to then create a group. So we can go here, we can say create a group. The group is PI. Oh, Figaf. Figaf IS. DisplayMan Figaf IS. Laptop, that should be okay. And then finish. So now we have created a group for this. And we then need to assign our users to it. So the idea is that with this group, you can log into this Integration Suite dashboard. The other thing is we go in here to the applications. And here we can see we have this Integration Suite trial account here. And there is a few small things we need to here. We need to check that we have the groups set up here for this to work. So now we have created a group for it. That means we can go in here to our role collection. We can say create. Just call it Figaf IS. And if we open this role, we can go and we can edit the mapping. There should be so if users come from this one, attribute mapping, user groups. If the user group is coming with this one, that means they would get this this role collections. And here you would then need to give it these business expert, but since we are anyway also considering just adding the same one to the Figaf, we can also just give it a Figaf role, then it would have access to Figaf also. So if we press save now, that should all work out. So the idea would be that I can take, for some reason, this is the Peter, this is the, I forgot that's the wrong one. I will need to create a new user. Just a sec here. Users. So an activation email. But actually, I don't really think that matters too much. What we can actually do is we can also just go in here, in this incognito here. Or is this, that's the wrong one. So that one is no longer working. We have we have here this cloud. Here I can then log in as the ERS. I would use my GGR and get my password. And then I'm actually able to log in to Integration Suite with this specific user account. If I'm logging, maybe it's the first time we are logging in. I didn't need to show all the different systems that is connected. So obviously that would be the ideal. I would go to my groups here and also give Peter access. But for now, let's just use this. So we need to remember the Figaf instance that we are on. It's this one. So we'll just say, okay, we will use the DGR at figaf.com and we will use the password from here. It would make sense that this is not the admin of this account, but now it's actually working. We have enabled it to connect to our systems. We can select some packages. Actually, there's nothing on it. So there's not much we can do because it's a brand new integration suite systems with no data connected. But as you saw, we have spent like an hour to connect everything here, and let's just get the final part of the puzzles running. So is this up and running? Yes, so now we have it. Let's just get a standard package. That's an easiest way to get something. So actually one thing we need, Figaf. So we will need the Figaf connector here. It has some cool abilities that would enable you to do some different things, like testing and improve things, and that means we got it under here. And if we go back here and then we select deploy, actually so one of the things we can do is we can go back to our Figaf installation now. We can press synchronize all artifacts. And we can see we now have some packages inside of it. We can then go to our landscape overview here. We already created a landscape overview as a part of this. We can see these are not deployed, so we can deploy it. And that would enable us to deploy these specific iFlows. It may take a little while on the first time on a brand new system. Maybe it will work, maybe not. So let's see. But that is some of the capabilities. I think one last thing on this CPI iFlow capability is, so when you have opened an iFlow, we have CPIhelper. So I guess I cannot install it here. Let's get it on my normal tenant. So here we have an iFlow. And one of the things that you would need to do here is to go search for CPIhelper, go to the Chrome or Edge store, and then you would go and add it, install it. Once you've done that, you can go into the plugins. Here you will add the URL for this instance of the Figaf installation, and then you can easily go in and put in the details here and use that for managing this thing. Once you have that enabled, you will get this option to navigate to the Figaf. This is on our different tenants. Here you can see information about this, or you can synchronize. If you have created a different version of it, then that will enable you to synchronize this details. Good, let's go back to the presentation, see if there's something that was important that we've forgot. Samuel, we covered that. Cloud identity management. These are all the roles that you would need to give. Integration content advisor, developer, and API portal role. Synchronization. We have done this. This is about downloading all the data that you have in the system, saving them in the Figaf database, and that means Figaf would have a snapshot of all the different versions that you have between this. CPIhelper, we cover that, enable you to go with those things. PIPO, these are the different roles that you would need to have for accessing the PI system. We need to have the API developer. You can use read-only for some of these things. If you don't want it to do specific things, then API read-only is good. Administrator, there's a lot of stuff that we can do with that. BPM, this is to display some details in a report that you need this, and then we need the NetWeaver read-only to give you some details about what you have for monitoring things. The Cloud Connector setup, we covered that also. Dual stack. So for dual stack systems, we do have different options. If you have installed it locally, you would be able to add the jQuery library. Now we added that as also on, if you've run it in BTP, Cloud Foundry, there it would just log, go into the backend database using a proxy that's deployed in the PI system. There are some things you need to do, like create a service key for it. Yes, so the thing is here in the, so let's see if it's deployed. I would not really expect that it's being deployed correctly, but these are in status started. So if you're here on the agent here, the PI agent, here you have this, there's a number of different settings that's interesting. Defaults, but there's a lot of things here regarding if you want to do testing on these things. But here you have enabled dual stack recording. Here you can select the system you want to use for it and create a destination name called this that will enable you to fetch detail from the PI system on this one. So this destination needs to be created in that landscape, and here it gives some more details on it, what it needs to have access to. We have navigation agents. I think we have a few more things here. There's something about synchronization. You need to go to the synchronize. There's this thing about rebuilding, and this is especially true if you have not completed a fully functioning synchronization. There may be some links that is missing, and this is what this synchronize can help with, enable. We also recommend that every time you do a full an upgrade of the Figaf version, you do a full synchronization, because we may have made some changes in the data and the underlying model that requires it to recalculate a lot of these things, and this is done in this synchronization mode. So here we can see the menu. We have the tracked objects, and this tracked objects then contains all the different repositories that you have. And yeah, you can click on all the header and press search for it. The tracked objects, here you also have more details about the details. For all the objects, you can browse the payload. You can click on versions to get more details about the specific versions that's going on. Tags, something we will, and we can see here all the places where this package is used or iFlow is used, and all the different dependencies. And this can show a lot of also different flows that where these things is being used. So there's a few things that is interesting when you're running the Figaf tool. In terms of monitoring, understanding what's going on. So let's see here. I think that's the last thing we should be covering. We have this thing that we call instance monitoring. This is a Glowroot that enables us to see if there is any errors, and we should use like both background and yeah, you should see both background and the web if there is anything that's going on. Here we can see details about some of these longer running processes, what they are, and if you are somehow, for some of these it will say traces, where you can then go in and see, okay, what is the trace details for such requests. So here you will be able to drill in, search for traces, see the details of what's going on. There's some JVM parameters. That's also interesting to see how well it is performing. Notice that this is only applicable in this current runtime. So if you redeploy Figaf, all of this data is lost, unfortunately. So that's just one of the challenges that we have here. But yeah, if we had errors, we would be able to drill in and see all these errors and criteria in here. So that was all I wanted to cover. I hope you got a good understanding of the tool. Go in and start exploring and see what is possible with it. Thank you.